Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Flash movie, but also a bit of a side of just the DC Universe cinematic stuff as a whole. So we're getting closer and closer to 2023. We're just about, 3 weeks away roughly, which originally, was not going to be a massive year for DC in regards to the film side of things. We really didn't know much of what was going on. That was a random year. But due to pretty much every movie that was going to come out DC related in 2022 being delayed, 2023 will now become DC's biggest year to date, at least in regards to the amount of movies that are hitting the actual big screen. Of course, money-wise, who knows? In regards to those movies, we have Shazam 2 or Shazam Fury of the Gods, The Flash and Aquaman 2 or Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I think it's called. They were all set originally for this year. We even got that big promo trailer thing early in the year, and it played if you went and saw the Batman in theaters, that trailer played, I think it was, and they released it online as well. And that came out to promote this being a big year for DC, DC in 2022 or whatever they called it. But yeah, that's all for next year now, except for the Batman, and also Black Adam came out, but I don't even think Black Adam was in that trailer. It might have been. I can't remember from the top of my head. But yeah, that's all for next year, with them being joined by Blue Beetle, which I think is out in August roughly. But we're still yet to get more about that outside of that teaser poster that they released a week or two ago. Now, Shazam 2 is the first one out of the gates next year. However, the one that has the most eyes and expectations, that's the word, yeah. And some would say just overall pressure on it. It has a lot of pressure on it, this movie, is the one coming out after Shazam 2, that being The Flash in June. Now, there has been some worrying and just scary DC news in regards to the world it resides in and all that. But it's probably not worth talking about until something more concrete comes out, as all the different outlets seem to be battling each other in regards to what is real and what is fake and what's sort of in the grey area. It's all a bit of a mess, but it will fold into something later in this video in regards to one specific aspect. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below in regards to all this. Very curious to hear what you guys have to say, and you want to, show your support, want to drop a like on the video. So the big thing with the Flash film that was announced over the past, week, roughly, it just sort of slid in there. There was all these other DC news in regards to, James Gunn, and then they just slid this in there, and it was a talking point for an hour, and then it just went away. But the Flash film is moving from its, release date that it had set, which was June 23rd. However, the gods, the Speed Force gods, have shined some light because it's not delayed. It's not delayed. I think a lot of people thought it was a delay of a month or something or whatever it might be, but it's not delayed. It's actually being moved up to an earlier date, exactly 1 week earlier. So it's moving from June 23rd to June 16th. Now, they didn't really specify a reason. It wasn't we're just confident or whatever it is. But it does seem that it's to avoid conflict and give The Flash pretty much 2 weeks on its own, where it's the big movie that's in theaters. So if you have not looked up the movie release dates for next year, do that and then go to that May, maybe middle of May through to middle of July period, and look how many massive movies, specifically blockbusters and comic book movies and franchise movies, are coming out in that 6 week space. It's insane. There's Transformers, I think there's a Marvel, or there's a Disney movie, there's Indiana Jones, I think there's a Marvel movie or something around there. I think there is, from memory. I think it might be the Marvels or something like that. There's so many movies coming out there, and then it pretty much ends in that August period roughly with Blue Beetle coming out. Blue Beetle might be the last of the franchise movies in that sort of stretch of the summer period to come out. There's so many movies coming out next year, and it's pretty much going to be which one flops and which one does decently. I don't think there's going to be any movies that sort of just hover around that, it did okay. I think it's either they flop or they perform well, because people don't have that much money. The regular person does not have that much money to see that many movies in that period of time. So who knows what's going to succeed and what isn't. I think that puts maybe a bit more pressure on Flash, but I think it's the biggest movie that comes out in that period. In my opinion, at least. I might be biased, but I think it's got the most potential to make a lot of money in that period. But yeah, even though we're getting the movie earlier, it's only a week earlier, so that's not going to change any of the promotional strategies or anything like that. The biggest thing is probably if there's someone that's made a poster for it and it said June 23rd, they're probably sitting there going, you couldn't have told me this earlier? Now I'm going to change it to June 16th. So that's probably the biggest change that has to happen in regards to just the date itself. So I don't think there's going to be any change in its promotional strategy and when things drop, trailers and stuff. I don't think there's going to be any difference there. Now, there was some other stuff that came out, and none of this has been confirmed by like Andy Muschietti or Ezra Miller or anything like that. It's just some things that have been said about like test screenings, and this doesn't really spoil anything. So Michael Keaton's Batman apparently has the second most screen time behind Ezra Miller in the movie. They don't say like Barry Allen, they say Ezra Miller, because it's very important to remember that Ezra is playing two different versions of Barry. Like we see that in the teaser they released at Fandom. So I know what that means in regards to how much screen time that second alternate Barry gets. It probably is maybe a bit more than Keaton, but then again, it might be around the same because it just depends on when they show up throughout the movie and all that. But yeah, Keaton's Batman has the second most screen time. Isn't that shocking? The only one I thought maybe could have competed with that would maybe be Supergirl. But then again, it's Keaton's Batman. If you're going to bring him back, you're going to probably put him on the screen as much as you can. You know what I mean? Because it's Batman. And obviously this goes against like all those people that were saying it was a glorified cameo. I'm like, you could tell from the promotion that we've got so far for this movie, it's not a glorified cameo. He's going to be there for a decent amount. Now, one interesting thing with this Flash movie release date, the theater, like the movie coming out June 16th, even if it came out June 23rd, is that the Flash TV show heading into its final season, if you include likely breaks through this 9th and final season, should have its series finale around either the end of May or beginning of June. So within a few weeks of the movie's premiere. Now, I'm not saying that means anything, not at all, but it is, it just sort of shows that, it's going to be a very Flash-centric month or so period for DC around that period of the year. It's going to be pretty interesting to see the whole trending things and everything like that, and whether they even do some sort of minor cross-promotion or something like that, because surely they're going to be starting to promote the Flash movie on TV, and the Flash show could still be airing at that point. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I don't know if they're going to do any cross-promotion or anything like that. You think it'd be smart to actually do that, but who knows what they're going to do. But yeah, in regards to the James Gunn stuff, which I wanted to come back to, of course, he has no direct connection to any of the films coming out next year in regards to a creative aspect as they were being made. Like, he didn't write them, he didn't produce them, he didn't direct any of them. He wasn't in his position when these movies were being made. They're all Walter Hamada movies. But he has confirmed that he is still giving notes on the films and that the new slate under his and Peter Safran's control won't begin until post Aquaman 2, which has been a talking point over the past week or so, which we'll reference again in a second. However, Peter Safran is a producer on both Shazam 2 and Aquaman 2, so he does have some stake in that 2023 stuff for DC, so he might be more focused on that than James Gunn is. Now, I don't think James Gunn's notes would be too much, because they're not going to go back and reshoot anything based off what he says, I don't think. It might just be stuff in regards to setting up things potentially, or planting seeds for the future, or not doing that. So it's like, okay, you set up this character, it's not really essential to the movie, I would prefer if we didn't do that. He could say that. So it could be just stuff that's minor, that might step on some stuff that he has plans for, or that he doesn't want to touch yet in this universe. So yeah, I could expect that's what his notes are. Now, here's the big question. Do any of these movies really matter? Do any of these movies, Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle, Aquaman 2, do any of them matter? Because the more stuff that comes out about James Gunn and Peter Safran's plans for DC or DCEU and the movie stuff, the more it sounds like they are planning a almost borderline full reboot of the universe. Now, this doesn't mean that all the actors are recast and they're going to get a young Wonder Woman, young Superman, young Batman, young Aquaman, all that stuff. But that wouldn't be surprising if that did go down. However, it's more the storyline things that will be thrown out. So how a character was written or placed or portrayed within the universe. So you could still keep Henry Cavill as Superman. He could still be your Superman, your big boy in blue, everything like that. However, maybe but's the best word to use, they completely throw out Jesse Eisenberg's version of Lex Luthor. And James Gunn puts his version in. So he goes, nope, not a fan of that, go away. And then he puts Bryan Cranston as Lex Luthor because everyone wants that fan cast or something like that. That probably seems like the better way to do it rather than throwing every actor and storyline away, because the thing that helps DC is that it actually has some really good actors attached to the roles. Like, would you throw away Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn? It'd be a bit silly, and also James Gunn does have that connection there. Because if you were to do that, like throw away every actor and storyline, that would also involve James Gunn throwing away what he has done with Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad with characters like Harley Quinn played by Margot Robbie. So that would be a hard thing for him to do and to see him do. I just don't believe he would do that. However, if he were to do that and go, oh yeah, okay, we're going to just completely wipe everything off, pretend none of this stuff happened over the past X amount of years, it would show his commitment to wanting a clean slate. But I don't see him doing that, because it's important to remember, like, Peacemaker got renewed. I mean, Peacemaker, I think, pretty much pushed James Gunn into this role. I don't think it was the Suicide Squad. I think it was Peacemaker and the fact he was able to make that character work and make that show extremely popular. That was pretty much, I think, what got him the job. Obviously, there was probably some pitch that he did, but this gave him a lot of backing for it. So it'd be interesting and very strange, I think, if that were to get thrown away. So I think we're all intrigued to see what they're going to do, what they're going to keep, what they're going to move around, what they're going to sort of tinker with and make something new out of something old. But it's all a wait and see. Apparently, they're presenting to David Zaslav pretty soon. But obviously, the fates of, like, Ezra Miller as the Flash, Wonder Woman or Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman now, because the the threequel got cancelled or whatever it is, or the current plans for it got thrown away. Who knows what's happening with Aquaman? There's Henry Cavill's Superman. Who's Batman? Like, it's a mess, but they could make it messier, or they could just make it. They could simplify it, and I think it's going to go one of the two ways. I don't think it's going to be anywhere in the middle. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all the stuff we went over. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.